was an overlay, a huge overlay. Opportunity was one that we'll talk about a little bit later on that you and I both liked. We both liked Raven Beauty in this spot. She ran real well. Again, one of those situations where has that European blood, European import, came over. North American debut was phenomenal. Maybe people are against that factor in there. But again, when she's covered up, she is really, really good. She explodes down the lane, and she was impressive in that race.
Yeah, very impressive. And so, being a Chad Brown and Mike Dubb, I have to think they'll find a spot for her up in Saratoga. I think the day boded well. Can I use boded? Yeah, I think the day certainly though did bode well. There, now. For Saratoga, I think some of these winners are likely to be seen up there, and that'll be a lot of fun also. All right, why don't we head to a break, and we'll come back in a couple after you take a look at these messages and continue with our special Racing Across America edition from Belmont Park. Again, we're taping on Friday night. It is dark, but there is still some life in the building as the press box downstairs had some folks who are still finishing deadlines and whatnot, and we're happy to be here going over a spectacular Saturday card. So we'll be back in a couple. America, Seth Merrill and Mike Callahan live from Belmont Park. Although we were live on Saturday, we are taped on Sunday morning. We're taping this Saturday evening from Belmont Park, but doing a little stakes recap. We've gone through the Belmont Stakes and working our way backwards. The Woody Stevens was on the card. Fun little subdivision of 3-year-old sprinters, and the Woody is a grade 2, $400,000 up for grabs. Unfortunately, as we walked into the facility yesterday, we ran into our friend Terry Finley from West Point Thoroughbreds, who informed us of the disappointing news that their Kanthaka had come up a little foot bruise and had to be scratched. So we'll look for that one a little bit later on. But there were still some interesting horses in here. World of Trouble and Strike Power had shown some real potential at points in their career. Chad Brown had Engage coming out of a win in a little stakes race at Belmont Park in the second start of the season, so was making the third start back in 2018. Promises fulfilled for Dale Romans coming out of a poor performance in the Kentucky Derby, but cutting back with a couple of bullet workouts. But, Mike, it was a little bit of a surprise coming in from Maryland, still having fun for, Maryland-based trainer Tim Keefe. Second in the Chick Lang on Preakness weekend behind a horse that looks pretty talented, Matole. So perhaps that flattered Matole, but certainly flattered still having fun. 13-1, but wins by a chart margin of over a length with Joel Rosario on board.
Yeah, able to get the job done. And kind of going into the race, you thought speed. You had Strike Power on the cutback. You had Promises Filled on the cutback. And, again, we saw how quick they were in the Florida Derby, going that suicidal pace when they went 21-4, going the two turns. Engage was a horse that I liked in the mix. Still having fun. I know Steve Bick liked him. I know Sully Crotty, who's part of our team here at Capital OTB, liked him as well. And, again, was able to come from off the pace. They went quick, as we kind of thought was going to happen. 21-2 to the first quarter, 43-3, and then they went 108 and change going into the 7 furlongs and kind of got a little leg weary. Still having fun, was able to benefit, and heads up ride by Joel Rosario.
And after the race, we caught up with Tim Keefe, so some post-race commentary from the trainer of Still Having Fun. Tim Keefe will get some thoughts on the performance from his trainee. Take it away. We'll be back in a moment.
I feel like you found that out, huh? Yeah. There's not much you can hide on the internet now. Hey, no, it feels great. I was hoping maybe this would coincide with my 500th win too, but I'll take it. This was great. So I'm just thankful for Gary and Adam for buying into this horse and having the confidence to keep him with me. And, thank Jimmy Scott and his Terp Racing for over the years supporting me and having horses. And, we just always hoped he was a nice horse. Jimmy gave me some money to go to Timonium, and like he does every year, to buy a horse. And I bought this one, and, he's fulfilled our wildest dreams. So.
What led you any more to you because he's a Maryland bred?
Oh, yeah, well, I love Maryland. I'm a Maryland guy. I mean, I've been there my whole life. I'm born there, raised my family and my kids. You know, my wife and I live there. We have a farm. I mean, Maryland's everything to me. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of times people discount horses if they're Maryland breds or, you know, and he's not a fancy bred horse. You know, he's out of a mare that's, you know, this was her first foal. So I liked him, and, you know, he's a great racehorse. You know, he's a very sound horse. He's got a great mind, and, you know, he can adjust to different things. We weren't really sure. We were easy on him early. You know, we just tried to develop him, take our time with them. We kept him at home. As you can see, we kept him at Laurel. We ventured out to the chick laying at Pimlico last time, and he handled that very well. Ran behind a great horse, Steve Asmussen's, just a lights out horse. I felt like a winner running second in that race. So that kind of bought us a ticket to running here. You know, talking to Gary and Adam, they're both numbers guys. They said his numbers fit, so let's take a shot. So that's what we did.
Any plans? What's next?
Not yet. I'm kind of a one race at a time kind of guy. See how he comes out of it and talk with all three partners and decide from there. So, you know, he's had very consistent races through today's race. You know, does it make sense maybe to back off just a little and maybe freshen him for something perhaps at Saratoga? Probably. But again, I don't have any plans right now. Just trying to get through today. So
Tim, it hasn't been just a totally straightforward winter, though. You did a lot of things with him. You stretched him out and gave him a chance.
Obviously, Tim Keefe very thrilled having picked up a nice graded stakes victory on Belmont Stakes Day, was still having fun. You know, they cut back to the 6 furlongs in the Chick Lang, the good second behind Matoli, and now it's 7 in the Woody Stevens. They get that done for a graded stakes win. You know, Tim tossed out there the potential going up at Saratoga, but I don't think they've made any decisions yet. We'll see how that plays out. But as I say, it's a fun little subdivision of the 3-year-old sprinters, and he's now inserted himself right into it.
Absolutely. And also Dale Romans has to be pretty happy with Promises Fulfilled, a horse that set that quick pace. Yeah. It was still able to hang in there when Engage kind of came up to him, was actually fighting back. So I think Dale Romans has to be happy. He's probably going to see this horse back at about 6.5, 7 next time out as well. So I thought that was an encouraging performance. The top 3 I thought ran terrific.
The Jaipur, a Grade 2 event, $400,000 for turf sprinters. I always say year in and year out, this is a fun little race for that turf sprint division. But year in and year out, it's getting to be kind of same old. As last year, Disco Partner wins. This year, Disco Partner wins. The number 5 horse, Irad Ortiz, Christophe Clement. Conquest Tsunami, who I admit I wasn't sure what to do with before the race. I just left it out of my mix, but I did comment when we did the pre-race commentary yesterday. Had been seen most recently in Dubai, trained by Peter Miller out in Southern California. Conquest Tsunami, good second-place finish, pure sensation. Another bona fide stakes quality turf sprinter, runs 3rd. Favorite was Disco Partner, and he gets it done in a pretty good-looking performance.
Oh, how good is he? Yeah. 7 for 11 as far as wins goes over this Belmont surface. Now 8 for 12. So a lot to like with Disco Partner. I know you and I both had him on top. You know, short price, $5.10. But still, if you're able to use some horses underneath, you got paid a nice $34 exacta. 50-cent try came back. Just under $60, but again, it's starting to become the Disco Partner Jaipur, if you want to elongate the pronunciation of it now. But again, another terrific performance. Irad Ortiz Jr. Very impressive. And again, race dynamics were not in Disco Partner's favor. You take a look at the fractions, 20, 22, 44. It sounds fast, but for these, it's really not that fast at all. It finished up in 106 and 3. So again, it wasn't a situation where it was going to be set up for Disco Partner. Not like last year. Last year, the pace was unbelievable. Disco Partner was able to close into it, angled out, and get the job done. This year was a little bit tougher, but was still able to get it done by length.
All right, the Brooklyn Grade 2 event, $400,000, a mile and a half. And, Mike, you and I, after the race, were both
grinder.
Popping our eyes at the price, which just seemed generous on opportunity. 5-2 on the morning line, but the Baffert runner, it seems like two races back trying a mile and a half in the Tokyo City, they were just kind of like, let's see what we can do at a mile and a half. Maybe we'll go to the Brooklyn. The follow-up in the Ali Sheba wasn't as good, but that was at a mile and a 16th. May have just been a tightener to get back to this distance in the Brooklyn. The workouts coming into it out in Southern California. Again, it's Baffert with a horse that just makes sense, a $4 million earner. And so the $9 and change price looked pretty good.
Yeah, I was astonished.
Yeah,
literally astonished.
Yeah, War Story runs second as the 9-5 favorite. And close-up third choice right behind Opportunity. at 7-2 was Hard Study. I had them 1-2-3, and that's the way they came out for, what do we have, the $68 exacta and $24 $68 triple, $24 exacta. But again, the $9 and change on Opportunity just looked really generous. I should mention, part of a very, very good day for Bob Baffert.
Absolutely. But again, I know he's always been high on this horse. Again, you alluded to the Tokyo City, where he was just so dominant last time out, or 2 starts ago in the Tokyo City, going that 1.5-mile distance. And again, I just think they found their niche with this horse, going these route, elongated distances. The 1.5-mile really suited him real well. All the money going on War Story was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. I didn't like that Charlestown Classic race last time out with Something Awesome.
I didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
I put him second, but I could have gone either way.
When I say I don't like, I still had the horse in the mix. I just couldn't put on top.
No,
I really wasn't sure, and all the money was kind of going on him, and I was just really kind of, I wouldn't say baffled, but it was a little bit of a head scratcher to me. And then Hard Study, again, like you said, it was 3 logicals. If you didn't like Outplay, who you knew was going to go to the lead, and the distance was a huge question mark, and you took your stand against Take Your Guns, everybody else was a serious long shot in here, and that for that try to come back $68, you could have definitely had that a couple times.
Yeah, it was a good race by Opportunity as he approaches, and it's amazing. I mean, this is a horse that I don't think the casual fan, even the hardcore fan, really looks at as like one of the all-time greats or anything. He's on the verge of making $5 million.
Yeah.
So pretty incredible for Opportunity. All right. The Acorn Grade 1 event, $700,000, the 1-turn mile, and all you can say here is it was the coronation. You would have to think this is an Eclipse Award exclamation point race for Monomoy Girl, having put the Ashland, the Grade 1, in the back pocket, and then the Kentucky Oaks last time, and now the Acorn. Monomoy Girl is going to be the number 3 horse. She wins by a chart margin of 2, but it was a really good-looking performance. Talk Viv to me runs second. Geo Game runs third in here at 24-1. Horse I know that you and I both had in our mix and liked a little bit at a price. Geo Game. Moonshine Memories runs fourth. But this race was all about 3-5 favorite Monomoy Girl. And as I say, you would have to think, unless something really fluky happens in the last 6 months of the year, she's probably sitting on an Eclipse after this.
She's just unbelievable right now. Her versatility, to me, is such an advantage to her, for her in these types of spots. A horse that can make her own pace, can sit off of it. The pace was quick for this 1-turn mile. And, again, she was able to sit just off of it when asked. Florent Giroux let her go, and she wins impressively by 2 lengths. Talk Vouv to me. I thought ran a pretty decent race. I know we like Geo Game at big odds to round out a try that was very logical in here. Again, if you're looking at logical tries, $40. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but again, you could have it a couple times. If you threw out Caledonia Road, who was coming off of that, I would say workman-like, and I believe that's what I said on Saturday, workman-like performance. I wasn't thrilled with
Another
the
one
last
I
race.
wasn't sure what to do with. I put her down in the 4th spot, but, wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies and then comes back in that optional claimer, which looked good, but you kind of scratch your hand.
That's why I said workman-like, because it was, to me, I wouldn't say something was a myth, but you kind of thought, maybe it should be a little bit more dominating. Yeah, it was a funny spot. So if you take a shot against her, the other 3 made a lot of sense in here to round out a $40 try.
All right, the Ogden Phipps, again, continuing the very, very good day for Bob Baffert. I mean, not only wins the Triple Crown, but picks up a total of 3 stakes on the day at Belmont Park and does it in the Phipps with Abel Tasman. Abel Tasman certainly last year really impressive with the 7 exacta finishes and 7 starts during the season. Won the Coaching Club American Oaks, won the Acorn last year, won the Kentucky Oaks. The end of the season, maybe not quite what they want. Well, they set close-up second in the Cotillion and the close-up second in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Nothing to sneeze at. But, again, overall, I think you have to look at the season as really, really impressive last year. And then she comes back in the La Troyenne at Churchill in the 4-year-old debut and throws in a little bit of a disappointing 4th at 3-5. I used her on top, but you could have kind of looked at her askance off of that seasonal debut. but it seemed like the workouts out in Southern California after returning from the disappointment of Churchill said, I think you're going to expect a rebound here. And, man, was this a rebound. As the even money favorite, Abel Tasman just looks fabulous. Ivy Bell at 7-1 runs second. Unbridled Mo at 9-2 runs third. Disappointment, obviously, Unchained Melody at what do we have? $4.90 to $1 for Unchained Melody. Kind of also kind of drops in. Disappointing finish, running fifth in the field of 6, given that she looked so impressive last year as well, but now in a couple of starts has been disappointing this year. But again, it was all Abel Tasman. Would she rebound and come back and validate what we saw last year? The answer, yes.
Yeah, I was actually taking the stand against her. I wasn't, at all thrilled with that fourth-place performance last time up, but boy, did she really turn in a good performance here. It was literally like the Coaching Club American Oaks last year. I'm not sure if you remember that race, but she made that middle move that was so impressive under Mike Smith. She did the same thing on Saturday here. She didn't break very well. She made a huge move, rushed up to the lead, and then she was still able to hang on very impressively, kicking clear by 7.5. Thought that was a very good performance. And again, she's just one when she's on her game. She's really on her game. Came home in a quick 140-1 for that mile and 16th. And again, the best of the rest was Ivy Bell in here. A little bit of a clunker for Unchained Melodies, who you thought was going to go for the lead. Didn't break very well, didn't get the lead, and it was kind of all done from there. Pacific Wind tried to apply some pressure to Abel Tasman, wasn't able to. But again, in this spot, that quick middle move that she's able to do really was what kind of put everybody into a different aspect, trying to have to rush up against her. And again, she was just so dominant.
Finally, the Easy Goer kicked off the stakes action on Saturday. $150,000 for 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th. And I said when we talked about this yesterday, it's one of those races that either have up-and-comers or you have some horses that maybe took their shots against better earlier and now are trying to regroup. And these are horses that can play out later in the season. I walk away kind of, this is maybe the least inspiring stakes performance on the card. But that said, again, these are 3-year-olds that can maybe punch their tickets to be a little more intriguing as the summer progresses. But it was an upset for sure. 14-1, the second longest price on the board. Number 5, Prince Lucky gets it done over Rugby Man, the number 3. Dark Vader, the number 7, runs third. But at 7-5, disappointing. Of the 2 impressive performances to start the career, but then the disappointment last time in the Pat Day Mile, number 2, Mask, again at 7-5, runs a disappointing 4th. 2 disappointing efforts in a row. Yeah,
it was the erratic racing pattern. Again, was so good, but then wasn't seen for a very long time. Raced last month. Wasn't able to get the job done, then reappears here, takes all the money. I know we had a chance to talk to Chad Brown, who you said was a little bit skeptical of how he thought Mask was going to do.
Yeah, but you know what? He was a little skeptical on Gronkowski, too, I thought. So I'm not reading the tea leaves right, baby.
But nonetheless, Prince Lucky was a horse that faced Axeman last time. Now, everybody's going to say, we're not sure what's going to happen with Justify now. The team's going to have to talk. Who do you follow as a 3-year-old now? I've been high on Axeman the entire time. Another Bob Baffert trainee. Prince Lucky faced last time. Axeman wasn't able to get the job done. Now this only validates what I think is going to be the second best 3-year-old in Axeman. But again, Prince Lucky, very impressive. A little over 14-1, paid $30. Rugby Man was a horse that had eye-popping win last time out by 14 lengths. You kind of thought the bounce theory's in play. I thought it was a decent second-place performance. And then Dark Vader, a horse I like coming in from the West Coast. I didn't think ran bad at all, finishing 3 lengths off and rounding out the tries.
Yeah, and again, some 3-year-olds. We'll watch. I think all of these need another start before you can start to feel like really one way or the other on these. But it'll be interesting to see what Chad does with Mask, how to regroup with that one after a couple of disappointments. All right, that takes you through the stakes action for Saturday. Another Triple Crown in the books, and I think we have to say now, certainly we were saying it during the week that this is possible, and really beforehand it was talked about as well. But I think with now 2 Triple Crowns in the course of 3-4 years, Bob Baffert goes down as one of, if not the all-time best thoroughbred racing trainer in the history of the game.
I don't know how you could question it at this point, with the way he's handled it. Because, again, there are so many outside of the, just the training and preparation, the things that you have to handle, he's so good at, handling the media, understanding who you need to bring in. I mean, he brought in Martin Garcia a bunch of times to work out Justify, just to have a workout cross country. I mean, those are the small situations that you really have to understand, that it's just not that easy to bring a horse to the gate. There are so many things that go on 24/7. There, the way that you kind of angle your horse, who you bring in to ride, as far as workouts go and stuff like that. There's just, you can name a million things, and he's just so great at it. Right now, he has to go down as the greatest.
Yeah, and he gave credit to his team down in the post-race press conference. As you say, he mentioned Martin Garcia working the horse and coming in to work the horse. Drayden Van Dyke had worked the horse a few times, and, of course, his assistant, Jimmy Barnes, who does a great job for Bob Baffert. But the team gets it done, and obviously smiles.
Anybody who
all around.
was working out Justify had an earpiece in, and Bob was talking to him the entire time. So he would say, slow down, quicken him up, let him go out after the wire, anything, it's just, those are things that it's unbelievable that you're able to get the job done, handle all the pressure, and still come through in these big moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. A couple of Triple Crowns in the span of a few years. And then you toss in horses like Arrogate and others, and it's just been a
breaking
real...
the Apollo curse. I mean, this horse didn't run as a 2-year-old, run 6 races in 4 months, which is completely unheard of. Most horses won't even want
in this day and age.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm saying behind my hand. I remember it wasn't that unusual, but yeah, these days it's completely unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, the spacing pattern's normally about a month and a half ish, and again, the Triple Crown tells you the dates that you have to run, but again, it's how you work around it, which makes you, the greatest. So
yeah, it's just. And we were there to witness it. And hopefully, Mike and I brought you a little bit of the color of the Belmont Stakes from Belmont Park. Capello TV, thanks, of course, to John Signor, president, for sending us on some of these trips and allowing us to be able to bring them live to you. Hopefully you were tuned in on Saturday for some of our cut-ins and some of the interviews we brought you with the major players. And we did give you on social media and here on the network some of the flavor from the Belmont Stakes, which was just insane and electric over the Friday and Saturday. And we'll see. Hopefully he shows up at Saratoga and the electricity continues.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America, a special live from Belmont Park edition, although we're taped on Saturday night. Well, Mike and I going to head out, grab some dinner, go to sleep, and get up tomorrow morning early, head out to the barn and see if we can catch a little of Justify.
Yeah, let's go meet the man now.
Meet the man and the horse and whatnot. That'll happen tomorrow morning. If we pick up some of that, maybe at the end of the program, we'll have some of that plugged in as well. If not, maybe next week or whatnot, but certainly stay tuned. All right, again, live from Belmont Park. It's been fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We will see you next time.